Okay, now we're gonna do this.
Do you have anybody on Zoom?
How you doing, Maggie?
Are you?
Good. You know, it's your haircut?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Yes, now it feels like everything's starting to sink in. Like the kids have soccer right now, and I was in my
Oh.
classroom. I'm like, oh no, summer's ending.
So are you, at Shade in the new school? How is it in there?
It's been,
Is it full?
yeah, it's
I know there's an open house the 23rd.
Yep,
Friday.
yep, from
Friday.
12 to 3, you can walk through. Yep.
Okay.
They'll cut the ribbon at noon and then.
What's that?
Okay.
There's an open house at Shay.
Yeah,
12 to 3.
Where you in there?
102.
Yeah.
Even if my door is
It's
closed,
been
I give you
such a big
permission to
deal.
open it.
These 102.
Yep,
That's cool.
I know, they're like, we'll keep
What's your
all
room
the
number?
D102. They're like, we'll keep all the teacher doors shut so nobody goes in. I'm all like.
You went
People
there
go
and
in
say
my
hi.
room. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll be there the whole time, but.
Do you have to keep it decorated and all that stuff? I mean, like the walls ready? And
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, that's what I've been doing the last 7 days. That's all we've had occupancy for, so.
All right, guys, I think it's 5:30 and I'll be see the other side. Good, let's call the meeting to order. The August 2024 meeting of Parks Board. Rachel, do you want to call roll, please?
Yeah, Gary,
Here.
Sarah McLean here, Richard Worthout,
Here.
Deanna Mulder,
Here.
Aggie Claus here, Aaron Strong,
Here.
and Jude.
Great. Let's see, has everybody looked at the minutes? Any corrections?
I move to approve them.
Second?
Motion carries. Let's see, Rachel, board communications.
Yes, I have a couple of random things. And Deanna can elaborate on a couple of these if she wishes. So, DPW has done a lot of work in the past week at Cozaplat Park for the Little League, and they're putting in that used beach playground equipment. I think it was last year, we took out those horses that were on springs that were pretty old, and you can't really get the springs anymore. They're not to code. Anywho, Michael Esposito reached out with some history on them, and I guess Harbor Springs, the school had done some work on them in the past, and I have a picture of like what they looked like before I did it. And then after. So, and so now that we kind of, I know like more of the historical value, I'm thinking it may be in our best interest to keep them and make them stationary at some of our playgrounds for kids to sit at, and maybe see if we can bring them back to life. They're really not in bad condition right now. They obviously don't look this pristine. But they obviously hold some value to residents and kind of have a neat story. He sent me like a bunch of newspaper articles on it, things like that. So DPW is willing to build like stationary objects to put them in our playgrounds, or even like in the beach stand or something. I don't know. There are a bunch of different options.
Do they go up and down like a teeter?
No, they would have to be stationary. They'd have to not move at all. So
Would Doug have anything that we could mount them to that would make them safe for current code and all that?
I can ask. I would.
When I
I don't know if it's kind of frustrating just to have like a horse and
A random horse.
yeah, thing, you know.
When I was in high school, that was when they were refinishing them and they had the art students paint them.
Yeah,
And they looked really good when they did that first. We
yeah,
didn't that
they do
anymore.
look really good. We have them. We didn't get rid of them for that
But if they need
purpose.
to be touched up or anything like that.
Yeah.
How many are there?
For.
What are the requirements, you know, PDA or something like that? Can they be in a little spring where they could kind of like? move
I'd
forward and
have to
back
talk to
or-
Doug. I don't know. They're not a Ventura, like they're not a product of his, so I don't know if you can buy a
It's worth a
product,
phone
but
call.
yeah, I can ask him.
With asking.
Yeah.
Even if they're just the single one on a spring. like
Yeah,
we see
that's
at
what I
other
was thinking.
parks.
Something to investigate.
To be continued.
Why did Mike Esposito know so much about it? Does his kids grow up?
I didn't know any about this sometime.
Does his kids, are they
And
at
then-
your age?
They're younger than me. They're like my sister. Yeah.
So cute. No. Like why I can't escape out of this page. Oh, why?
Did you swipe?
Why is this so, it should not be this difficult to get out of here.
Escape.
Well, I mean,
Meeting adjourned.
right, I know, like it doesn't have. I don't know why this is so-
There's always a trick of turning that off and restarting.
Yeah. Go to.
Unplug your screen share and then plug it back
Out
out.
to 10, 1,000,
This is
2,000,
stupid,
right?
I always like shut it down. Turn it back
Get
on.
it when you're ready.
I'm never clicking on the photo
I
again.
sent an email out to the board for SDF,
Mhm.
and I got all these bounce backs. I think it's like, it's got a PDF protection. It was not a line protection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so I reached out to our service provider, because if I would go to our website, and they go start emailing, it's like, what's going on? I'm so frustrated.
Power
by-
everything down.
There's so many things that happen, so weird.
Mhm.
So a guy called me today and he said,
No,
actually,
but
we're
right.
gonna send back, we're all Gmail emails. And the reason they came back is because up there in security,
Seems like
unless
it's
we have
so,
some special,
it'd be great easy. Oh, I did it.
or accreditation,
No, right? That's something.
Five.
they prevent.
Okay.
from
Um,
coming to the-
Other thing
So he
was,
said we just.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
the other thing was, Arbor Fest is September 14th at Harbor View Park. And that's from 11 to 2 p.m. If anyone's interested in attending.
We have a great lineup this year,
Yeah.
especially you guys, yes.
you said September 14th.
Yep, Saturday, the 14th,
What
is
time?
it 11 to 1 or 11
The
to
2, I thought.
Okay,
And there are gonna be 3 trees going into Harbor Fest at that event. 2 black gum trees, which you can see along M119 in front of Bay Bluffs. And then a very large elm tree, is gonna go in for shade. What else do I have? Oh, the beach is on a beach advisory warning. They posted a sign this morning. So you can swim, you just can't, it's recommended you don't submerge. So not full contact with the water. How it works is Monday, they came to sample, we get our results today, which is why we're closed. Today, they would have sampled, we'll get our results tomorrow, so we could be open tomorrow. And it doesn't necessarily mean that staff will be picking up food scoop, it could be a million, in the wind, be a million different things, so. But staff did take a good look at the park this morning.
I've been impressed with them all summer.
Yeah.
Hardly noticed out in the sand area, any goose, poop, so.
And this is about this time, I think last year we got shut down like a day or two. It's fairly consistent. That's all I have.
Okay.
we have some very good news from the council meeting last week.
I was gonna ask.
That's my director's report.
Okay. Do you want to keep them waiting with?
Yeah, I'll keep them
for
waiting.
the whole meeting?
Oh, what do you think?
So after wait till the end of the meeting and stay the whole.
You gotta stay for the whole meeting. Okay, no public comments, it's gonna be easy tonight. Let's see, so I think what we're gonna do first, or Rachel, do you wanna talk about the meeting time first?
Yeah, let's get that out of the way. So I got accepted into the Leader of the Little Crabbers.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And the class times, of course, are the 3rd Tuesday of the month from 8 to 5. Haha. So I will not be able to make here by 5:30. So we can either, it's up to the board, we can either just change our meeting time to 6:30. If that isn't a good time, we can change the date. Discuss as you will.
Is there an evening that is open in terms of meetings?
So Mondays are out. Probably wouldn't mess with Thursday. Planning Wednesdays are Harbor Commission. And it depends on how long they go.
They only 4 or 5 times a year.
Just go to the second
To like the
Tuesday.
second Tuesday?
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing I don't like. Is now I can't get to that. Let me see. I go to the website and go to our meeting calendar. Meetings at City Hall. So it looks like. Yeah, we can do the second. The only thing I personally like about our meeting date, just keep in mind, is we're always after our council meeting. Just kind of nice for something. It's not a make or break by any means if we want to change it.
We're after
I'm fine with 6:30.
on the second most months too.
Huh?
We're after a council meeting, like by only a week on most.
Yeah.
And we meet before, so you could always send stuff that we discussed to the next
Yeah.
meeting.
That's a good point too.
I'm good either way.
Doesn't matter to me.
If 5:30 works for everyone, that's not.
I like 5:30.
So second Tuesday.
Second.
Starting in September, Rachel?
Yeah,
So we
probably have to do like at least, not a roll call vote.
You're thinking that could be September 10th would be the first.
Mhm.
Yeah, we'll have to start it in September.
Right.
We just have all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay,
Perfect.
great. Okay, we're gonna switch up the agenda just a little bit, and we thought it might be useful to talk about the park survey results before we get talking about projects. that might inform what we discussed. Rachel, do you wanna kick off the discussion here?
Do we have
Is there a way to get it up on the screen?
Yeah. I'm gonna do the packet like you guys have. Cause this is the entire survey. What I sent to all of you is exactly verbatim, everything.
Comments were entertaining for sure.
That's the humor. So, as you can see, the first question was, what is your residency, full-time year round, 71%. I was actually pretty impressed with that percentage.
It's not on the screen for us to see.
Good. So,
Yeah.
okay. Where's your seasonal and full-time residence? It's fairly consistent with what we've had in the past. This actually doesn't show everything I want to show, but I think we can make do. So City of Harbor Springs was about over 50%, which was consistent. Little Traverse Township and West Traverse were almost the other half of that group. West Traverse being a bit higher, and then Pleasant View Township was next. So when we did that mailer that some of you I'm sure got, we used this data to figure out how we wanted to do that mass mailing. So a majority of it went to Harbor Springs, it's going out to PO boxes, Little Traverse, West Traverse, and then Little Traverse that kind of goes into another township a little bit that had a pretty high percentage.
And do we have a ratio to compare this to from previous surveys or anything like that?
I'd have to look.
I think it's pretty close because I've seen the
Yeah.
ratio before. I think that West Traverse was a little higher than Little Traverse when it was done the last time. We have to look at that
I'm
again.
curious about the survey when they did it for the city master plan, what it was. The capital improvement projects are pretty close. Boardwalk is.
So there's nothing, well, I guess we'll wait for the surveys before we
Yeah.
start really getting into it.
Parks you visited, I don't think any of that should be surprising to anyone. Y'all see.
Yep.
And if anyone has questions or wants me to stop, just let me know. In the last 12 months, have you visited Harbor Springs Parks or participated? I don't think that surprises. I mean, you walk through town, you walk through a park. Which recreation programs did you participate in? This also didn't surprise me too much, only because our programs are fairly new. Fall Fest, I believe, has been around the longest and is also probably the largest. And then it's also Fall Fest is done kind of that tip where seasonal residents are leaving, some are still here. We have like the leaf peepers, things like that. And then did not participate in any programs, but that's also good, you figure, because now they know we have those programs. We didn't participate, they simply didn't know they existed.
And the swimming and sports event is not on there. I know it's a huge.
One other thing that we could think about with this, that we can talk more about next month is, what about like, people maybe more in the older demographic, that aren't going to these that are family oriented or maybe we do need to consider having some addresses that age group.
Please bring following activities or many you'd like physical regions to offer from highest to lowest. More programs for kids and adults, was pretty high. Skater Kiwanis, that was actually surprising to me high. Kiwanis building update made sense. Playground improvements, was up there. And then picnic pavilion, so we're all fairly.
So again, talk about this next month, but we might want to have the program committee look at some other options if that is the most important thing.
How would you prefer to receive updates on that? Should be a shock. Social media, the website actually surprised me a little bit. Only because I don't go to the city, but I mean, I lived in Kalamazoo for how many, and I can't tell you how many times I went, like never to the website, so that surprised me a little bit. That's good to know. We post a lot of things on there, but we can definitely be better about it.
Is there a way that when, for all of the meetings, everyone gets an email blast? Can we tie in events to like the email blast?
Say that again, sorry.
So if you sign up for city emails,
Yeah.
you get an email every time that there's a meeting.
Mhm.
Could we tie into that for,
Yeah, like
Events?
Victor.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that.
because email is also high
Mhm.
and we don't currently do any emails.
We were talking a little bit before everybody got here too, that with the survey wrapping up soon, that maybe we put the QR code on the front page of the website. And then Rachel send out social media again saying that we're getting into the last week if you retake the survey.
I do a post on Facebook, a new one again, and even Instagram.
And the comments I'm not gonna go through, because we don't have time for it.
They're entertaining though.
The things that stood out to myself and I hope stood out to all of you, even though we kind of knew it, is how difficult it is to please all these comments. A lot of them range from all the things in our parks to don't change anything at all. And it's our job to find that balance, which could be said for probably any department.
Well,
But I think that's, this survey rings very true with that. That there are people that want a lot of amenities in our parks, a lot of fun things, and they have small kids. And there are a lot of people that would be fine if it looked the same 20 years ago. Which is also okay. But finding that medium, that's gotta be a stance we have, is that we have to find a middle ground somewhere there. Otherwise, we're not satisfying an entire
I
demographic.
feel like though we often talk about just taking a light touch.
Right,
parts.
Right, and I feel like that is our
That's
middle
consistent.
ground.
In the middle ground.
I think it's hard too, because, a lot of people rated Kiwanis like an ice rink, but like the reality is that we continue to talk about how expensive that's gonna be and how are we gonna pay for it?
Yeah.
And nobody is taking that into consideration when they're like, oh, that would be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think the other thing that created some of this response is that the parks are actually functional and operating now. There's so many more things going on that ever existed before, but they fix up with Marina Park and what's happening at Shea Park now,
Shea Park,
and there's just so many good things going on in Kiwanis with all the events. I think people are realizing that this is something really happening in Harbor Springs, which they didn't even realize we had so many parks before.
Right.
I think what we did in Marina Park is working for young and old.
I agree.
That it's just the right balance. I mean, there's young families playing cornhole with toddlers, and then older people just sitting on the bench and just looking out or eating lunch. So it's that balance, not doing too much.
Yeah.
I like that there are a lot of comments about you guys are doing a great job.
Yeah, I would say overall, the comments, and this, we should feel, I've done a lot of surveys. And this was one of the more pleasant, I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, this was one of the more pleasant ones.
Yeah.
With responses, so we should all feel proud about that. But I think when we have individuals that come when we're doing a project and say, well, no one wants this, or we have this. We have a lot of comments that say, that may be true, and a lot of people want what you want as well, but there's another side to it, so.
And I think it's a good idea too. We were talking about like doing little spot surveys, on Facebook, where
Right.
let's say we want to work on Shay. What do you guys think of this? Tell me what you think.
So my question to the board, if we want to discuss it further, the only reason we kind of wanted to switch it up is because we're going to talk about our future projects and CIPs. We didn't know if anything in the survey would dictate where we go with that. But if anyone has anything they'd like to discuss about the survey.
I just have a thought, when the survey concludes, is it possible for you to, I know, go through the comments and kind of tally
Yes.
what category they fall into as far as if it has to do with a specific park or something along those lines, just to give way to pay attention. And then I think we should somehow publish the findings of the, I know obviously we're in a meeting right now, but publish the findings so that we can continue on with that transparency.
And along with what Sarah's saying with transparency is a couple of the comments noted the Parks Board Department doesn't read the survey, none of this matters, and that's not true because DPW, we got, one of the comments was nets at pickleball. We had those. We put them up like 2 days later after we read that comment. Someone said that there was another one and DPW went out the next day and, you know, adjusted. Like those small ones were actually really helpful and very
Yeah.
easy. Like
I
we didn't
noticed
have,
those.
yeah, like we didn't have to do anything for that. We saw it the next day. We, you know, altered things.
What if, our next Parks Corner, which will be in September, we read an article about the survey and the results.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, that's a good.
I feel like you could also tie in like our accomplishments and like what we have going forward into that.
Listen,
Sounds
what
like
we
a full
accomplished in
page.
2024. That's, I mean, I don't think.
Just
you
in
can
the
see
last
how
3
much-
years, what's achieved.
Yeah. But I think that's a nice way to tie in, like, people on the survey have said this and we
Here's
accomplished
some
this.
examples of what we did to make it happen.
I
What's
think the
middle of-
survey
does
kind of-
anybody want to take that on, writing that? Somebody from the survey committee, perhaps?
I don't mind writing it and sending it to someone.
I mean, we just, I mean, have just a
Yeah, that's only because I can just ask survey, so
Perfect.
I'll be a lot easier that way.
I can give you input, I don't have
Okay.
time to write it. But I think the survey actually gives us some good direction too, and just to justify some of our focuses. You know, with the number one park being Zorn Park, of course, that's summer, that's when they're taking the survey, but there's some pretty good input here.
I agree,
Really
yeah.
fun to set our priorities.
Okay, shall we move on to discussing the CIP list?
Yeah, let's go to that next. We'll wait for Fall Fest.
I did update our parks priorities and it doesn't show up real good in this copy, but
Let me find that real.
CIP related things are in green. And so that includes, Rachel and I were talking, so CIP projects just carry over year to year unless we take them off. And then we have some that are new, we want to add in perhaps. So that's what we're going to discuss today.
So in the packet, like it said, if they're green, they're either completed or ready to begin. For instance, Kiwanis is green, because we have an architect, we know that is happening, that's solidified. If they are red, we did not get to them, it's planned, or they may need to be removed or adjusted. For instance, Closequat Park, we did put equipment up there, it's not necessarily what we had planned. So the question is, do we remove it completely, push it off a year? What do we want to do? So my staff recommendation would be to review and be prepared and discuss what would be added, removed from the CIP list. And these go to council, I want to say that late October, November for approval. So basically I fill out a form, I turn it into Victor, they get scored and they go to council for review.
So this isn't our one shot at this, we can talk about
Correct.
it.
And they can change every year. You know, like for instance, we had Zorn fence on, never ended up doing it. It doesn't hurt anything. We just remove it. So as you can see through the years of 2024, escape rec landscaping windows and replacement, that happened. Zorn beach fence, we deemed didn't need to happen. And we took a different route, boardwalk replacement. Well, happened.
And what's not on there too is the playground, that's should have been in there.
And then 2025 is Kiwanis Park upgrades. That's going to happen, we know that. Closequat Park playground equipment, we'll have to evaluate that. Bike path, Harbor View Park upgrade.
Rachel, isn't
Yeah.
the Kiwanis disc golf upgrades gonna happen this year?
Yeah, those aren't big enough for a CIP.
So I think the
Yeah.
confusing part is we've got Dana's 2024 prior parks priority and then this, so we're focused on CIP right now,
Yeah,
right? Not
yeah, so
parks priority.
CIPs
Okay.
have to be over a certain dollar amount
Right.
to be, yeah,
CIPs are on the one I did too.
a couple of them, yeah. Or yeah, all of them probably agree. And then 2026, we don't have any, 2027, we have community garden, 2028, we don't have any, in 2029, so we really don't have that many CIPs. I don't know if any of you have ever looked through the capital improvement projects plan. But departments have, you know, sometimes 3, 4 on each year. For instance, the electrical department, sometimes they need to, or it's in phases, things like that. I'm not saying we need to load it up, but compared to other departments, ours is actually fairly light. So I feel comfortable if we want to add some.
We don't have to say what year, that's what council will decide.
Yeah, they'll
Yeah.
be scored accordingly. We can put what year we would like. That doesn't mean that's the year we're gonna get.
Okay.
So.
Rachel, what is the talk about the boardwalk now? I mean, what are you hearing? What is it?
Depends on who you talk to.
Have we raised any money?
We still have a $25,000 match donor who's still interested and willing to put that out there. I think they're looking for more momentum to do that. I would say in general, people, really depends on who you ask. I have had comments this summer, I would say at least 10 asking when we're gonna do the other side. We just didn't have time. Parks didn't have time to do a fundraiser this summer. I'd like to do one this fall, but council still wants to see it done, correct?
As far as I know.
So, and council isn't planning a fundraiser, I'm assuming.
We're gonna
So
talk
I
about
guess
it.
I'll say that it's
Football fundraiser.
but yeah, I don't know, it hasn't been very clear in my opinion.
And I think maybe we want to have a discussion too, and it doesn't have to be tonight, but about like, what are all the benefits of the boardwalk, or what are some angles we could take that would appeal to different groups? And like one discussion we had was the whole historic thing. Like maybe we do interpretive signage, you know.
The main
Um,
comment this summer is it doesn't feel done, people. It's very simple, it doesn't feel completed.
Yep.
Cause they're
we
used to
have-
the full thing.
And another thing that I saw, actually in the survey was that people use it for fitness.
The other thing to mention though is $450,000, not an accurate number.
Gonna be higher.
Can probably be higher than the west portion,
Yeah, because they're working with the cement stanchion still and.
but that
They have
was
to-
one contractor, so that's also kind of
Who
difficult to
didn't really want to
say.
do it, maybe.
It's a lot of hand labor, you
Maybe.
said, because you can't get equipment up there.
Without getting actual bids, I don't mean to like sound fast, like estimates are kind of hearsay, you know, until you actually bid out a project, depending on when you bid it out. What year, how long it takes to fundraise, like an estimate means something if you're gonna do it tomorrow. You know, but if you're gonna fundraise and then bid it out, you don't.
But once you bid it out too, like they come back more competitive.
That's what I'm
They
saying,
want
yeah,
the-
like bids mean, I mean, the Harbor Master Building is a great example, that came over $1 million.
But it was a short turnaround, so I think we could be smart about like.
Right.
that kind
Yeah,
of- I'd like to suggest we talk more about the boardwalk maybe next month, and
right.
so we want to leave it on as a
It
capital
has to
project.
stay on
Yeah,
Because council wants it. there,
And
so.
we do some kind of like station at Fall Fest that's like, these are old pictures of the boardwalk or whatever, and this is what we would really love to see and see if we can get any donations or sell any steps. Since a lot of people are there.
Yeah, when we have it, like, we're gonna
think
talk
we
about
have, like,
fall
a
fest, and we're gonna talk about a fundraising event too. But the answer is yes, staying on there, so,
Okay.
sorry.
So is the purpose of this exercise for us to determine the list that you have, the 5 bullet points, what years they fit into right now? Is that
Or
what our
if we even
focus-
wanna add those. Those are my recommendations.
Okay.
Or ideas. The beach building, I'm gonna stand very firm on that we need to put on. That beach building is old, the ventilation's horrible.
It's yucky.
The toilets they're not plumbing through the walls. They're not meant for that type of use. Yes, they're seasonal, I understand that, but they're the most highly used restroom arguably in the city.
so we're in agreement, that's on.
Thank you, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do we have to tell you what year, or are you
No.
going to put that on based upon? Oh, well,
Rachel, back to the boardwalk a second. I know people have this vision of it being another wooden boardwalk. But I still would love to throw it out there that maybe it can be something different. Maybe it can be a marked nature trail of some kind of
To
switchback,
change the design would have to come from council.
of course.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, if we had other ideas we could throw out there.
Yeah,
That might be more fun and more interesting, not have to be a wooden structure again.
And I guess I would
Imagine-
again suggest, let's put it on an agenda
I
and
would
talk about it.
Let's imagine that the homeowners would be against any sort of thing that's not raised.
With railings where people can't easily get in their bed.
But yeah,
the
That
shade,
would still have to be done.
Okay, let's
below
move
the
on
waterfront.
to the Shea Park.
the shade park site plan I have on here, because it'll likely be, it'll meet the CIP amount, if not, it'll be right under it. And I'll probably put that on for 2025.
Yes.
I agree with
Okay.
that. I've heard a lot of grumblings about the
Me
locomotive.
too.
And are we all in agreement with that? Yes.
And then the other ones were kind of just things we've casually talked about, so I threw out ideas. The park exercise circuit, to be clear, it's outdoor exercise equipment. You can put 3 pieces in, you can put 8 pieces in. My thought to wear would be maybe like a little league field where it's kind of like that open playground space. I thought about potentially like near the stadium for the school to use and the athletes.
Do we need to specify a location?
No, I'm just like giving a broad, like what I thought of over the years. I thought with working here is we have a very healthy community. Every time I'm out, someone's walking, someone's running. So it may be some of these communities interested. I wish we would have put it on the survey, but I didn't think about it at the time. That's my mistake.
Well, I think one of the purpose of parks is fitness, so I think it fits in.
But if the board doesn't feel that that would be used, that's okay too, and not of interest.
I don't think I'd put it on a high priority, but I think it'd be a really interesting, fun project to think about doing in the future, maybe 2026.
So for sure, yeah, I push it probably further back than that given, yeah.
And that could be something we could do a spot survey on too.
Then the other one on the list I have is kind of the environment educational park, when we talked about the pocket forest and we just couldn't piece together with that property. So again, that would be a further out year, like 2028, 2029. Give us time to kind of plan.
The boardwalk through the
Yeah.
wetlands, the rain
Yeah.
garden.
So that's kind of vague for a CIP, but I think if we push it off far enough, that'll give us time to kind of plan accordingly. And then
Yes.
the big one, pickleball.
wow.
My issue with this is we're gonna have to figure out where to put them. I'm not putting them on the CIP list until we figure out where to put them. That's one of those things that and the only reason I say that, let me say this with it, because I feel like pickleball is so highly used that someone would come to City Hall tomorrow and say, I'm gonna fundraise for them. And once they get the funds,
Then we
we
don't
put
have a
them.
place for it.
That's my fear.
Rachel, have you had discussions with the schools?
Schools not
They're
interested.
not interested, that's
No.
amazing.
We're not gonna do anything to task force, which I don't know the tournament rule. I don't know, so I'm not gonna speak to it. But they're not interested in life.
Does the school have other property?
specifically says no pickleball on the sign.
What?
It specifically says no pickleball.
I would assume if they weren't gonna do a pocket forest, they're probably not gonna go ball court. Would be my assumption.
Not after.
The school's not willing to give up their property, I would think.
What are our options for pickleball location wise?
Indian town. Technically, you could put them down here. There's enough room. I'm not saying should, I'm giving
Down
Right
where-
here.
oh, right
actual
here.
property that you could do them at. You could expand them into Harborview pending the deed. And you could potentially put them up at Kiwanis if DPW was ever willing to give up their
That's what I
compost.
like best, if they could give up some of the compost.
But that's all.
And
put out
then
of
we
the
can
park.
turn them into it.
Rachel, do you have stats on the usage and how many you had to turn away because the courts were already booked?
We don't book them, it's first come, first serve, and then Tuesday and Thursdays, Mark Horowitz does, private lessons on one court, he has very specific hours to do them. He does clinics, because we have a lot of people ask for clinics. I've had one complaint about private lessons on the course until I explained this is why we do them. People were asking for them. He's only allowed one court, these are the hours, and he sticks to that. I've had a lot of good feedback about his clinics. I struggle with it is, do we put in 2 more pickleball courts for 2 months out of the year, 3 months out of the year? July and August are the busiest.
I have never heard anyone say, I went and sat at the pickleball courts all
Me
day and I
neither.
couldn't get
Once in
on.
a while,
I've
once
never
in a
heard
while, we'll get a phone call and they'll say, you know, someone was on them over an hour. Or when are you gonna put in more courts? But does that necessarily mean we need more courts?
So what if we found some way to, as you were saying, like, get a tally for use? What I like about it is old people use them, young people use them. That part I think is really good.
It's
Um,
one of the fastest growing sports,
it
and that's
is.
why I find it hard to believe it would only be 2 months a year. I think you can
I
start
think, what if
playing
we
in
spent,
May,
what if we spent this
May
year?
until November, and you
doing
could be on the
research?
court. Yeah, but
And
I
then
think if
next
we could
year
track
put it on.
usage somehow, if we could track the numbers by sign up sheets or punch
We have
cards,
to do it
whatever.
next summer, because now we're kind of hitting our. They're busy. I'm not saying they're not used through November. I mean, we take the nets down I usually do it around my birthday, so let's say Veterans Day. Is when we usually take them down. I just don't, I personally am up there quite a bit, especially
It's busy
this
all the
year,
time.
you know, I painted the fence, like, I just don't know if teams. But I'm not a pickleball player, so I
I
don't.
mean, but the pickleball players do have other options, like a
Yeah.
lot of the people that play pickleball are playing at Birchwood, they're playing in Petoskey, like they're moving around, it's not like these are their only options.
And the other thing about pickleball we have to understand is a lot of people like to play at the same time.
'Cause you
So
can't
the
just
course may
show
not
up
be
at
used,
tennis
I mean,
or
it's
first
used
one.
as safe,
But they're
because
there.
it's hot.
Yeah,
But and we may run into that, you know, but again, like Sutton's Bay, for instance, their small community, I think they have like 6 or 7 pickleball courts, they have a lot.
what if we used 2025 to do research and look at different locations and ideas and leave it off for this year? Does it make sense?
I would say we would need to find a location. A location to me is the most important piece of this.
When can you find out about the deed at Harborview?
Because it would make the most sense to just. have it on there.
Yeah, I'd be kind of against that though. I don't know. I just wouldn't love
I
that.
feel like sometimes we do have to remind ourselves that we don't have to have everything in our little 1.3 square mile, and we have
Right.
it already. Do we need more?
We just put those in too, remember? They
Right.
just got surfaced. They were there, but they weren't nearly what they are now.
So maybe wait 5 years and we redo the whole thing
I
when
think that'll
they
be
need to be
a little-
redone.
I'm hesitant to put it on the CIP list until we have things. That's one where someone will want it very badly,
I agree with that.
and I think we should wait.
It's not gonna hurt to wait.
I just don't want someone to say like, you fundraise the money, now put them in, and then the parks board, we're all looking at each other like, okay,
Well,
but where?
let's put it on an agenda to talk more about.
I think we just have to keep tracking the usage.
Okay.
And it is one of the only public courts around. I mean, yeah, Birchwood has courts, but you can't just walk on unless you're a member.
Right.
And then Petoskey courts are always busy. And the college courts are always busy.
Rachel, could you talk to Mark and get his advice on how we might?
I also noticed on your list too, you don't have anything about picnic pavilion, or maybe I'm missing it.
That's because that was
It's already
included in the
done.
Harbor
in the
View,
Harbor View.
yeah.
Right, yeah, and that number, that's something that is an accurate number that's on
Yeah,
there,
that would
okay.
be,
I had a couple other things for us to talk about. So Harbor View is on there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and what else I had to talk about? Oh, community garden. Now does that become part of the environment part? And
I would probably remove
why don't
it.
we take that off and
We
just?
can always add it, happens every year, so if we have a
Are
more
we in
solid.
agreement then?
Yeah, to me, that falls in with pickleball, we don't have a for sure location, so.
But it might be really
Right,
good
but it
with
could
the
be part of that
environment.
other bigger project.
I also had Indian Town Park. I think we don't know what we want to do there yet, so maybe it's the same thing, where we shouldn't put it on until we know what we want to do.
Well, we discussed waiting until the new homes were finished, and they're finished.
Yeah, I can do an update on that too and support a little bit.
Okay.
The info.
Yep,
Would you have time to talk to somebody in the tribe about?
I have,
Okay,
yeah, about Indy. I'm waiting to hear back. Her name's Marcy. But I did email her, so. And
I
I
wanted to give her a
spoken
nudge,
to her.
maybe we could even have a discussion before we have to turn in the CIP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So should we put that on the list then, potentially?
Yeah, I'll put Indy.
I guess that's all I had.
Does anyone feel there's anything missing on the list? Have any ideas? I guess my thought is keep it smaller. That's my personal preference, but,
There's a lot to work on.
and it also lets us focus in a little easier on projects. The other thing I was gonna ask is what do you wanna do about Cook Park playground equipment? 'Cause I don't love that that's 2025. And we just did.
We took the
A
beach
small upgrade.
Right, right, it
playground
doesn't make
over
sense.
there, right?
Yeah, so the only thing we took out up there this summer was the big metal climber, the dome climber, and then we took everything from the used beach equipment, it's up there, so now it's about like 2 slides, monkey bars, like another dome climber, and 2 adult swings and 2 toddler swings.
Can we talk beyond, is it just Cozy Park playground equipment or just the park in general? Cause the walkway is in, it's got a lot of roots.
It's really specific to playground equipment, but I can change that, I can adjust it.
It's just if we're gonna keep
Yeah.
looking at that, it's a very
Mhm.
utilized. park.
Is that all gonna get wood chipped? I know we talked about that.
We'll probably have to order more, so if you see them in, it's not gonna be finalized, it's gonna be we're gonna do all of it, so.
Where did that dome climber go that you took out?
The DPW. Well, the other one's kind of a dome, it's like the same type of idea, but we couldn't get anything else in with that, how
It's
large
so
it was,
big.
the fall dome, yeah.
I don't wanna see a playground option disappear from the CIP list. I don't know if you can be
Can we switch it to Kiwanis?
more vague and just
Move
say
it.
playground equipment. Or does it have to have a specific location to be on the CIP list?
Have a specific location.
Can we switch it to Kiwanis, since that might not make the budget for our,
Yes, yep,
Just put some money
and I can ask
down.
Victor if we can make it more, I honestly don't, I'm not quite sure, I just know that they like to have it more. It's easier to rate that way for the group, cause it's not only staff that rates them and scores them, so.
Does it make sense to split Kiwanis, have the building as one CIP project and then have
the grounds?
the other improvements,
Well,
the
we can talk about
playground?
that and kind of circle back for a minute when we talk about the RFP.
I mean, I'm with
And the
Sarah,
alternatives, does that make sense?
I think if we have the beach playground equipment at Kozakot, we really don't need to add any more there. There's not room.
No,
But I
now
don't
that I'm
want-
taking some trees down, there won't be room.
I don't want that money to go somewhere else. I wanna keep it for playground equipment.
So do we wanna say Kiwanis playground equipment?
That would be my vote.
What's that Kiwanis is surprisingly really good.
Yeah, it's actually.
It's like.
If you're 5 to 8 years old, it's great.
Yeah.
I would say
Yeah,
even
like-
younger.
Even my 2-year-old grandson, you know.
So then my question is, cause I need to put a number on there, are we talking about all new equipment, or are we talking about adding a piece? That's
would
gonna
say
change the
adding,
dollar amount.
adding.
Okay, so, okay, Kiwanis,
And I
Playground
playground new
upgrade.
equipment. Have something that's a little bit more exciting.
Bigger for
Bigger.
bigger kids. Cause the school uses it all the time, the daycare uses it all the
I
time.
have to take trees down. So that'll have to be a discussion eventually. I'm just saying that now, if someone is going to it. We take those trees
Well,
down.
there's gonna be some of the older stuff that's not interesting, so.
Yeah,
But I think that's the ideal park because there will be bathrooms.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
Yeah,
mind
can that
moving,
go on a
what if
list?
we moved a
What?
couple pieces to
About
Indian?
bathrooms.
they have bathrooms technically.
We're not,
The
we're not,
school-
we don't have access.
Yeah. Not ours. It's on our property, but it's not our building. So I don't even have keys that.
No, and it's not even open during like Little League.
Is that something we can negotiate in the lease?
I can, no, because we don't own the building.
Didn't we
Little League and the
require
school are
them
separate.
like porta potties?
Little League, I told
There
Little League
is
this, we
porta
did
potty.
Little League contract. They have to go to the school and get their own agreement for that concession building.
The bathroom.
And then we leave the skate park bathrooms open for them, which I know is not convenient, but that's what I can offer. And then if they wanna do an agreement, with the school, they can. But like, I don't wanna have that argument, because then we're responsible, like, or if they get vandalized or cleaning and things like that, and I'm not into that, so. But we have changes coming, so we'll see.
So we're gonna flip the playground TBD, so.
Yeah, I think it should stay, I agree, and we can alter it accordingly, I'm comfortable with that. Did anyone else have any changes, or? Well, I'll bring a final list for our next meeting, so we can review it year to year with the applications and kind of run through them real quick and make sure we're all on the same page. I don't even know what's next.
So, will we end up with a budget then? I mean, are we gonna be competing for funds probably, I'm guessing? CIPs? City
Yeah.
Council? Will we competing for funds?
I don't know if any, it depends on what departments change, or if they stay consistent, or what they decide to do.
I mean, a lot of the stuff isn't coming out of,
The
a lot of
general
the, yeah, a lot of the
Street
projects
fund,
that are
yeah.
coming out of street or electric or
Mhm.
water.
General
Like,
fund.
we aren't really doing a lot with the general fund as far as big projects.
Okay, let's move on to small projects.
So to clarify, these are projects that when I work with Nick Whitaker, our city clerk, in the fall, I say, hey, these are projects that don't fit CIP, they're small items. How can we adjust our budget accordingly to do these? For instance, this summer, it was a couple picnic tables, umbrellas, things like that. So next year, this is the list. I'm not gonna read through everything. Hopefully you guys did. If anyone has questions, things to add, things to take away.
And Rachel, so the purpose of this would be to ask for some of this in our budget.
Yeah, for instance, like, if you were in an event and you, like the Gatorade jugs, for instance, we usually get those from the outfitter. It'd be really nice to just have our own folding tables. We're always asking people to bring, it'd be really nice to just have a couple folding tables of our own. So if you're ever at like Swimming and S'mores or Fall Fest, you go, hey, like, wow, it'd be really handy to have this. That's why I have a loudspeaker on there. So we've been a couple times where we've been like, that would be nice.
So do we give this list to Nick then and?
Yeah, you give it to me and then I would, yeah, I'll
I
give
mean,
this,
you-
yeah,
would you
I will
give it
give
to Nick?
this to Nick. Yep.
Nick would say, I can fund half of this.
Yeah, and I give him roundabout prices, ballpark in it, some things you get, some things we don't, and then we adjust accordingly.
And then we have it all on our wish list to, if somebody calls and says, I wanna do something nice.
Does this look?
I have one
Yeah.
question. So on the limbo set, I wasn't at the Swimming and S'mores, but I saw the picture of
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
holding the rod. I looked on Amazon, I mean, for $30, you can get a.
Yeah, that's the one I bought, it broke, so we're gonna have to get the $50.
We get, you know,
Yeah.
a better limbo set by
Yeah.
next Tuesday. You gotta move
Yeah,
on
I'm
and go
sure.
away. I mean,
Right,
if it's $50.
yeah,
You should be able to.
and some of these are so small, it doesn't really like, but like Scott saying, I'll just buy, it's not a big deal. I just wanna make sure you all saw the list, so if there's anything to add. You feel comfortable saying like, hey, I noticed we don't have this. Can we
I would
add
add
it to the
that
list?
toy box that we talked about, the
With the
shop
school,
kids,
yeah.
yeah, cause they might need cost of materials.
Right,
When you say $2, do you mean the shelf at the beach?
The one that Sarah showed us.
Yeah.
Yeah, cause Brad said, he's like, just remind me when school starts and I'll put some
Right.
kids on the project, but I don't know what,
okay.
the one from us.
At one point, Rachel, you talked about putting some bike, like a bike station with repair parts and that kind of stuff, and I didn't notice them at parks, and I don't notice.
So
them
that was on our list for this year, and then I didn't get it because I didn't know about the wheelway going
Got it,
through,
understood.
but we can still order those, they're in there.
We just happened across a situation as
Also,
a family. with
other
tire
reason we
went
held
flat,
off is
No
the-
equipment.
The Marina Park building was the other place we talked about it, and that was getting remodeled.
That's right.
I wasn't sure what those restrooms were gonna look like when they're done, and I still don't, so,
That's
so,
fine.
but
I
it's
just don't wanna
on the
forget
list.
about that, cause
Yeah.
I think it's,
I think that would be a good place. to
Do we
put it
need bike
downtown
racks
more than-
anywhere else?
We got a lot of bike racks.
I think it'd be a good place to put it as opposed to Cosapot, because we get a lot more bikers downtown.
Yeah.
The other thing that I wondered about was shuffleboard. I don't see it
Oh, yes.
anywhere, because I know that was one of the requests I saw in the survey.
Like a shuffleboard we would put out, like a temporary,
But I think,
Shuffleboard or like a, I don't know.
in the grounds, you
I
know,
feel like
in
we
that
don't have
one.
a place for it yet.
Is that more of a,
We talked about doing it over here in Jardine Park potentially.
I'm trying to think how much that would cost, that would be a CIP.
I have no idea what it would cost.
So how much would it take? I could look into it.
But if you make it, whenever we make an ice rink, you can, have shuffleboard.
Yeah, that'd be a good place
We'll
to
get
do
to the ice rink, give me time.
I can't
Wait for this.
Yeah.
it. It was, we grew up here, our kids grew up, but we need a nice rink. That was important in the winter.
So, and you don't have to tell me tonight if you take this home and if you do another swimming and sports, whatever we do, we have till November. That's when council approves everything, so feel free to email me, text me with things that just pop in your head randomly when you're places.
Should we go to Fall Fest?
Yeah,
I have a quick question before you leave this. Whatever happened to, that offer to put get the kids up the hill, the elementary carpet at Kiwanis Park? Remember when Denny
same
was
donor. Who's
there?
donating
Right.
all the funds to Kiwanis.
Oh, that's coming to same person?
Same person.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we wanted to do the magic carpet years ago, yeah, same family.
Okay.
So,
So it could be part of that, if we thought it was important. Okay.
On to Fall Fest. What did you got, Rachel?
we need to begin planning Fall Fest, topics to discuss for this meeting, or do we want to add or take any pieces away from the event? Review sponsors from previous years. Do we want the program events committee to take over moving forward? Staff recommendation, discuss event and moving forward with planning. One thing we did not plan on is Fall Fest has been funded by the Mary Claire Reynolds Joyce Fund for the whole time we've done it, for about 5,000 approximately. They closed the fund and are funding Kiwanis. We actually don't have Fall Fest in our budget.
How about if we find another sponsor?
Yeah, I think we can find a donor for 5,000.
I think we can too.
And
I don't.
how do we find it? Or any ideas, Jamie, or?
All our friends.
Hmm?
Start asking our friends.
Okay.
Fest go for me.
The 5,000?
I can do it for 3, but it's kind of
For
up in the
3?
air. Yeah.
We say,
Start with 8.
yeah,
And see if we gotta work.
or should we
It's
say?
difficult, like
4
get a
days?
band and like do all the hay bales alone are pretty pricey. The pumpkins go up every year, like, so
So what should we ask people for?
I would say we need at least 5,000
Right.
to be comfortable.
Okay.
So could we ask for sponsorships then, for the names and banners and all of that, like at the baseball fields?
Then banners become pricey for a one-time event.
We also can't hang
I don't know
banners.
if we could do it here.
Yeah, I mean, I think to get 5,000 in donations, it can be done fairly quickly. And the people aren't looking for that much recognition.
Well, I can say Wallstrom's is funding Arbor Fest this year. Don't ask them.
I mean, I feel like we could make a giant poster board and print off all of it.
Been multiple families that have came up to me over the years of doing Fall Fest that have ever said if we ever ran into something to reach out. I don't have a big concern that we're not gonna be able to. Fall Fest is pretty loved for how new of an event it is.
But it's coming right up, like, so we need to,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll work on it immediately.
so you're gonna do it, Rachel?
Yeah, I mean, if anyone has other people, definitely reach out to them, but I'm gonna reach out as well.
You wanna try Sue Irish? Or Sue?
Yeah, I have a couple names on the list.
You're very, community.
And anything we want to add or take away?
Do you have that thing that I, sent you? I really like what we have. These are just some kind of change it up a little ideas.
Oh, yeah, yeah, there it is.
So, yeah, so the first thing are possible, Strong Mountain improvements. I think this slide thing is very fun. And it looks like just a big sheet of plastic, so we'd have to figure out where to get that from. And then I like the idea of, we could use hay bales, not tires, but, to have like a little obstacle course or, you know, type of, whatever you wanna call that thing to get to Straw Mountain, or maybe it's a loop where you go down the slide, you get off and go around again. Just be something else for the kids to climb on and do. Thoughts?
I like the mountain. That's. We don't have a.
Sponsorship. Straw bales are a big portion of the budget.
And then you'd have to make it.
To donate straw bales.
DPW can do that. They bring like a loader down. And they're pretty good. They have a good system. They're getting the straw bales in. You'd just be making it taller. My only other question with that would be liability. How quick do we have to take it down? I hate to be the bearer of bad news. But usually, I only say that because usually Straw Mountain's up
Right.
a few days before and we usually leave it up.
It was there a
trickling.
little too long last year.
Yeah, a little too long, but it's usually at least
I
up there.
mean,
a
we could
week.
just pull the slide part off.
Yeah.
But it's very popular.
But I do like that idea.
Please get help to Kiwanis Park because I
Yeah.
hiked up in the bottom of the hill and it's right on the perimeter of the
Yeah.
park, all the old ones from last
Give
year.
a
Let's
buffer
hurry
so the
this-
kids
Yeah.
don't biff it into the
Right.
woods, and then it goes to the deer park as well. Couple to a few restaurants around town, decorations and stuff, but.
Do you wanna talk to Lucas about where you might get something like that?
Yeah, they might have to build it.
They might have words if we wanna do that, like,
Again, we have exciting news, so we'll get there.
let's see, the next one is, oh, food. So we had talked about having coffee last year, so I think that could be good. And is it free coffee or, you know, do we charge a buck?
I think you should do by donation.
Yeah, cause
Like
people
that.
could throw 20.
Yeah.
People throw 20s in all the time.
And then did we want hot chocolate for the kids?
Didn't. Wasn't that there last year? I feel like I remember.
No,
No, we've never had electric,
I thought
hot.
Dan was there last year.
That was small batch though,
That
wasn't
was-
it?
Right? Yeah.
And then do we want them to come back and do that? Or I was just looking at Gordon's and I think corn dogs are very seasonal. And that could be fun.
I mean, so what food is already provided for families? You've got donuts, you've got caramel apples,
So
right?
that's what I was
If
thinking.
we continue from there,
I did have another idea, that could be instead of caramel apples, if you wanna scroll, Rachel. There's some game ideas if we want more game.
I mean, I think it's fun.
Well, we have this game.
I think the small batch being there is nice and you could even bring in another food truck and just have people pay for it.
Yeah.
Yep, and then it keeps it.
where else
simpler
do you
for
get,
us. Yeah.
that's still cheap entertainment for a family. Sorry to, I'm noticing popcorn. Did we have a popcorn machine on our list of small purchases?
Oh, but we should.
But that's a pretty inexpensive way to feed a lot of people.
So you've probably seen these popcorn.
I was gonna say that, you think Rachel,
I-
with running that at
Might
school.
have a competition.
No,
Makes the dream work.
So your skills. so-
I have a lot on my resume, you guys.
So, yeah, do we wanna do that?
So I've noticed that you've got a disc there. Do we have enough space? A disc golf net, do we have enough space to have that with the amount of people that
I
are?
think we're gonna have frisbees flying at people's
Right.
heads. I'm just thinking about my own boy throwing.
Yeah.
it.
Or in the water.
The
Yeah,
water,
that's
yeah.
the bigger, that's a big thing too.
Also, last year, didn't they have the skateboarding that was really popular?
It
That
was,
was-
Yes,
Maybe I'll do that
like
this
2 years
year.
ago.
We don't have any
No,
now.
I have one left. One or
I think
two,
if we
but-
set up games over in that area, that'll be good.
Are we earlier this year? September 14th seems so much earlier.
The first Saturday in October.
No, not, yeah,
October.
Yeah.
Okay.
the
And are
14th.
you
is
gonna
our-
talk to Loretta then?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this was another craft idea, or we could stick with the thing in the pumpkin, but these are, I don't know if they're cans or what, but, spray painted and then the kids decorate the cans to look like Halloween characters.
Pumpkin thing is so popular.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
It's not
problem is,
broken.
what kind of cans are those?
I think those are tin cans,
Like soda cans or?
could be soda cans, yeah.
How many pumpkins, I mean, was that expensive to get pumpkins for that last year?
Pretty expensive. The one thing I have thought about adding, only because so the skate park historically has always done a Halloween event. And that's not gonna happen this year if you don't have staff. But one thing that's extremely popular up there, which I find ridiculous, but the kids love it, is smashing pumpkins. And you can usually go to a pumpkin patch and take the pumpkins that are already like right on the edge. You know, the people are gonna use, and that's what we usually use. So I know it sounds like
No, Pond
kind of
doesn't.
silly, like,
Oh,
people love
That is
taking here.
very- Yeah.
They have it at times.
Yeah, I mean, you could set that up where all the skateboard equipment was and just have like an enclosed area for
So
that.
you have a baseball bat or what's, how does this?
Like a sledgehammer.
Like a sledgehammer.
But it's wooden, it's wooden. Yeah. I talked to the original track people.
I'll tell you, now exciting news.
Oh. Can we just skip to that part? I make a motion.
Sorry, no one watched council.
So I talked to the original tractor people
Yeah.
and their tractor is still not, they
Okay.
can't drive it.
I'll talk
It's
to
leaking
DPW again. I'll
the
talk to
same
that.
as last year.
Okay.
So should we just stick with painting pumpkins, do you think then?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think it's not broken.
And you'll talk to Loretta.
And then,
then are we
did I
gonna-
hear coffee, dash hot cocoa station by donation?
Yeah.
And you don't even need toppings for the hot cocoa bar. I feel like you just say your cocoa or hot chocolate by donation.
Here's your whipped cream.
And like, see if Loretta wants to come, and then if we wanna reach out to another food truck.
I like that.
And then are we gonna do the caramel apple dipping again?
If the high schoolers run.
I thought it was popular. I thought it was more popular last year than it was the year before, for some reason.
And the fire truck.
And the fire-
You talked to come.
Is Sophia coming back again this year?
She was my
It's
server the other
CFIs.
night at the New York, and I introduced her to my parents, and I said, she was our high school rep. She's like, well, hopefully again, so I think
Good.
so.
She's planning on it.
Baker, yeah.
I said, nobody would be opposed to that, Sophia.
So Rachel, at this point, does it get turned over to,
That's up to you. I mean, I feel like that's appropriate.
Yeah.
It's the program events committee. That's why we have them. Otherwise, it's a point.
Do
but-
you need high school volunteers for Harborfest and for Fall Fest? I can.
Fall Fest, I can't speak for the tree board.
if you got a couple that wanna come, sure,
I can just put it out there to Jackie and Sophia, and
yeah.
they can
What's the date?
get like 2
For what?
For-
Which one?
Harborfest.
Fall Fest,
The first Saturday in October.
the 5th.
I think it'd be good to try to line them up, because they can
Right.
help with, pumpkin painting
Yeah.
and caramel apples, they could do.
Well, that's, and what are the hours, Rachel?
11 to 2.
If you're handing over to the program committee, I don't know that I'm able to commit to organizing
Yeah.
and doing that at this time of the year.
Yeah, we've done it so many times that honestly it's.
I'm happy to
Simple at this
help and
point,
support a
yeah.
couple hours here or there, but
Yeah.
not be.
It's fairly, like, we get hold of the same companies usually every year, like solidify all that, so it's
So,
usually not that
As a
complicated.
member of the programming committee, if you want to give me a
Yeah.
day and time, then I can help support you.
That's
I'm
cool.
happy to do that.
You know, I can't remember who has the scarecrow costume.
I have it.
You have it. I know I have the Easter bunny one.
And then we're kind of got it down on marketing
Yeah.
and promotion.
I think last year we had 12 high school kids and that was perfect. That was like the perfect number, like no one was bored
I will
and
let them know.
nobody felt stressed. It was a nice like mix.
Just make sure whoever gets the donuts realizes that they need to have a hole in the middle.
Cuts will never live that down. Like,
That's already happened,
you know,
Jelly in the middle.
but it helped to tie them ahead of time too, right?
yeah.
So I had a note, I always make a list on what to consider for the following year, so, I have order 175 to 200 donuts because we ran out, can't go back. Do you want me to order the donuts? Would that help you?
Yeah. On the program events committee. Okay.
people who are about to enter a real busy season.
Not,
And I don't wanna speak for you guys.
I mean, I'm still busy, but I'm not.
I'll send an email and we can try and
Yeah.
find.
Do you wanna,
something.
do you wanna order the donuts this year then?
Sure.
Just make sure there's holes in it.
You just call Johan and tell him you need specifically donuts. And a variety pack.
And do we wanna say 175? Or 200?
I would say 200.
Okay,
Every year it's gotten busier. I mean, and last year it was just as busy year before and the weather was horrible and it was a rain date.
Right.
So,
and then I had a note that we washed the apples ahead of time, so we're not doing it in the bathroom and
Yeah.
whatever mantra.
we can do that here, the city.
I
hall.
have big industrial sites.
So I'm glad to help with that. You wanna organize that.
If you just bring them to me the night before or the day before, I'll make sure that they're done.
So it's Maggie,
Have the cooks do it.
Dishwasher.
Jamie, and Sarah. So how about I send out an email with a list of basically everything that has to be done for it, so everyone knows.
Good.
And then, things to work on for this year, like cleaning the apples, things like that, those notes, and then we can pick a time that works. And if all of us can't come to each, it's not, like I said, it's pretty
Okay,
self-explanatory.
perfect.
Yeah,
Do you wanna hear what else I had?
Yeah,
Rachel, there's
yeah,
things like
I got
we-
that.
things done ahead of time. I'm gonna be gone for that, the first 3 weeks of October. So if it's things I can do before that.
Okay,
I'd be
yeah.
happy to.
Yeah.
I had cut the string ahead of time for the apples. I mean, for
For
the
the
donuts,
donuts,
yeah. Oh, I had a note, pumpkin pine wood derby. So that'd be really fun. I mean, if we could get some just little car chassis and a hot glue gun and you stick the pumpkin on and. Or is that too much to keep it simple?
I like that.
I didn't understand. What did you say? Pumpkin
Pine wood derby.
derby? I
You know what that is?
Don't have visualize
Oh,
it.
this was an Indian.
I mean, I know what a
guy's thing
Pinewood
with the
Derby
kids.
is, but
Yeah,
so you're gonna glue a pumpkin to the car?
well, I don't know, that all has to be figured out, but, I bet you Bill Mulder would get on that if we wanna do it.
Is it actually a little wooden car you put it on?
No, well. Good question, I don't know, you know, I think this is
Oh, investigate.
Throw it down as a.
the concept at this point, yeah.
Derby.
I had a paring knife for apples.
Yeah.
Towels for the pumpkins. Oh, I had, fleece throws for the benches,
Cause the benches were getting
they
wet.
were wet, from the sprinklers or from something.
Yeah. I'll just put sprinklers off and then. that'll
Yeah.
remind me to the
And then
benches.
I have some number of things that could be used. Are we doing fire pits?
We didn't last year.
Solo stoves?
Okay.
Could be fun.
Do it.
It's chilly out.
It's not a big cost.
Then I had tarp for the pumpkins, so they're just not in the
Yeah.
grass. And then I had lots of wet wipes.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we ran out, I don't remember. Then I had hose and nozzle to wash the pumpkins.
We had that, at Marina Park. Harbor Master Building.
Right.
Oh, then a parks table, we had that last year, with the easels and the posters. I don't know if we need to update the posters, I don't even quite
I'll look
remember what we
closer.
had, but yeah. Oh, and passport brochures. And the
People be-
stamper,
Can people sign up for Friends of the Park or anything like that at the event?
that'd be good, yeah. Oh, it's stickers, not stampers. And then some of the water bottles, Rachel. That's all I had that was new, it wasn't on the list. Oh, I had staple gun and staples, which I can bring, I think, to keep the tablecloths on the tables.
Yeah, I think between the program, event committee and having another meeting before should be good to go. You wanna move on?
To the exciting
Yeah.
news.
No. Well, wait.
She has to do the very end.
Now I have.
We're gonna run out of time, it'll.
Probably only exciting to me.
So I think maybe next is, do we wanna do a fundraiser for the boardwalk, a football party type of thing? We were talking about doing that and then.
We have to do something because
I know.
I mean, like, we have to, because getting the word out via the farmer's market, like that's not gonna be enough. It's just too big of a project.
So I don't think that there's any restaurants that are gonna be willing to do anything in September. We're still super busy, even into the first week of October. But Monday night, the Lions play Monday Night Football the day after the Festival of the Book.
September 30th.
And the tent is still in Marina Park potentially. So if we could get a projector screen and do something not super crazy, but in Marina Park, but I don't know how you would get cable or.
I have a huge blowout projector screen at the school that I wrote a grant for, but it's gonna be hard to see during the day.
It's
Except
Monday
the-
Night
The game
Football,
comes on at 8 o'clock, but the event.
but it would be
before.
under tent if we could get them to leave it up for one more day.
Do you think people would come down to a park to watch a football game Monday at 8 o'clock?
If it's freezing cold and maybe raining.
Is that the kind of event where you could bring in some big money?
I still have the 30 or so
In October.
silent auction gifts. And I don't know, I think the
September
mayor would be
30th.
willing to do it.
I mean, the party at the New York was a blast.
He's not gonna do it.
You won't do
Did
it
you talk
again.
to him?
He's not gonna do it in the fall. I mean, we're burnt out. We're not gonna give up a day of money for.
We did it in November.
We did it in December last
December.
time,
Mhm.
but it was like piggybacking off from, like, there was something else going on and
I think it has to be different.
Mhm.
I think so too.
Personally, like, we tried it with the pier, that didn't work out, I think it has to be different.
It's gotta
I
be something
like
that's
your idea.
desire for people to come
Yeah.
to, and
Yeah.
not like, oh, I gotta drag myself out in the pouring rain on a dark Monday night.
Probably indoors. someplace.
And I think it should,
But what about the pier? Are they just too up in the air right now though?
They're having
I
some
think any
issues right now.
restaurants are gonna be willing.
I don't know, they had a busload of customers. Just on the way here, I saw it.
they also closed on.
Issue with
Saturday.
Is
Cancel
Jody
everybody's
there? Sure.
reservations and-
I mean, I can't say what is or isn't, I don't know.
So if we did it, let's say we did do something in a park, let's think of all the pros and cons and start there. So if we did it in the park in fall. Con is you spend money on the tent, spend money on planning everything, it rains, or it's 35 degrees outside. You're not gonna make that money back, that is what it is. A nice thing is I could totally see people coming out for a Saturday football day if it was really nice and the stars aligned. And there was a jumbo screen and you had, the other thing though with the park is it's BYOB. And it wouldn't, I mean, people, so let's be honest, football, people are gonna want beer, they're not gonna go out and drink sodas for 4 hours. So they're just gonna go home.
What about, I have an idea, what about the Lyric? He's done community events before.
He'll do anything, but
Yeah.
what do you,
Yeah, I
What do you
mean,
do
because
there?
it's indoors, it's screen. They do med performances, he does fundraisers, I'm going one tomorrow at 1 o'clock, you know. Maybe that's a possibility.
I mean, they show the
Think about
Super Bowl there.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah.
not a ton of people show up and there's not really a place to do any sort of activities other than watch the game for fundraising.
Well,
are we
they've
stuck
opened-
on
they've
a
opened the
football?
lobby.
No, that was just something we're thinking about in
Yeah, they've
fall,
done that.
it could be anything,
And the timeline you want this to happen in the fall.
it could happen in the winter, I just don't know.
I just worry that like the big football fans, if we tried to do it during like the U of M or adverse MSU game, they're gonna have plans. And they're
Yeah.
gonna be at
That's
their
a good
own
point.
house or a friend's house,
You're
and
right.
they're gonna wanna watch the
Well,
game.
Moose Jaw does a Michigan State event, I think it's through our chamber, and that's pretty heavily attended.
Yeah.
They do like a couple jumbo sprint screens, I think, I don't know if we'd wanna like fight with that event,
I think we also have to think about who are we gonna get big checks?
Right.
And are they, like you said, gonna be going to another football party already for the big games?
And I mean, who's gonna pay $100 or $50, even if it is a fundraiser to go watch a game, they can watch it.
For the fun of the gathering of it, you know, if they could do some food in the
I would,
lobby,
I
drinks in the
would.
lobby. Cause they've done that before. I mean, Matt's been there giving food away before at
How,
events.
how do you make money off of something like that at the Lyric though? Because you
We
would
charge
have to
it.
purchase their own.
Well, they can, they
Beverages
could
from the
donate,
Lyric.
they can donate to theater. I mean, Scott's done that.
When we did our Ripple film there, Scott donated all the concessions to us.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's worth looking into. I'm happy to talk to them about it.
But we could see if somebody would want to cater food in the lobby too.
To be honest, I'm just at a loss of what we can do. I mean, I'm just gonna be honest with you, like, I'm at a loss at this point on what we can do to fundraise for the boardwalk. Because in the summer, we just simply don't have time. Only other thing I've thought about is putting it off a year, waiting for the school turf to be done and doing something 4th of July, and opening up for fireworks and charging. And doing a big event at the football field with like food trucks, kids things, a band, keeping people there through for the 4th of July fireworks.
That
I
would
think
be
we
fun.
can come up with a more immediate fundraiser idea. I just need some time to think about it.
Should we talk about it next month?
Yeah.
Everybody,
I mean, we
everybody
can
think
put-
about it.
Do a silent auction and catered stuff and like a nice event people wanna go to. I just would need to think about it a little.
Let's put that on.
But I don't
for
think,
September.
Karen, it could hurt to ask.
Yeah, I
Can
would
we
ask.
action,
I can
get her to ask and just see what the
I
options
thought
are.
about doing an event for one of my groups and he was open to it.
Could we do something at like Holy Childhood Community Center instead of having it a restaurant give up their space, like,
Well, and it could be like, remember when we had the chili tasting in there too? Like we could have different food vendors set up. We can pick theme, people could.
Just more room in there for people to
do
roam
they
around.
Yeah,
still
it's
do
been
the
a-
chili cook-off?
No,
Yeah.
It's not a.
So
I
why,
don't do that for a couple different reasons.
right, but why couldn't we come up with something along those lines?
Well, if it's, are we talking about like chili cook-off, like where the restaurants do the chili?
They used to do it where there was amateur category and the restaurants did
Yeah,
it.
that's a health department like nightmare though,
That was
like,
during Ice Fest. too.
yeah. Having amateur cook, that's,
Right, but you could get the restaurants and it doesn't have to be chili, it could be hot dogs.
We could,
For $100.
we're gonna think
Yeah.
about it. You
I
don't
mean,
worry
it
about
doesn't
it.
have to be
Yeah.
$100, it's just.
I was
getting
like
it
adult
ready.
prom, like, I don't know what we're doing here.
That's
Like,
what I'm-
you know,
It's great around
Yeah.
Like, we'll get there, we'll get there.
Build up a million events
Should we
for the
table it
school.
until next month?
Yeah, but I think the boardwalk needs to be a priority.
Yes.
It's like we're either doing it or we're not, like,
Agreed.
so I think we're kind of to that point.
Okay, I just have a real brief thing. Is anybody interested in being the parks historian? I just thought it'd be really fun if somebody was willing to look up histories on parks.
It's really fun to do. When I did the Zorn Park
Mhm.
research.
Would you like to do it?
I can do my best.
Okay.
Don't have a
and it
whole
doesn't
lot of
need to be
time,
done
but-
all at once.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we can kind of, would we just say our next article will be about the survey, I guess.
Right.
But yeah, it could be used in like our parks corners.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Okay.
really fun to do.
Alrighty, and we had talked about, Shea Park and we were gonna stake it out and then all of a sudden before it got staked out, the gravel.
It was there.
So everybody good with that and, do you remember the connection with the sidewalk going up to the AHA? That can just be sort of our working idea for right now.
Yeah, nothing's solidified. We'll still bring it back.
Yeah.
To the board before we move any further.
Is that it then, Rachel?
is there any update when the locomotive will be here?
Cup still has to pour his concrete, so I'm not sure.
Oh, we have, swim and s'more coming up.
Yeah, I have that in the director's report.
Okay. Let's keep going. We're getting really close to the, big happy news.
So the Kiwanis, RFP at council last night was approved. It's gonna be, Mark Boudet from Bluebird, Architecture as Bucket and Raider. I
Yeah,
did email you all his RFP, feel free to look over it. A couple things to mark on it. So I spoke with Tim from Bucket and Raider. And big portion of that funding for the RFP is even investigating an ice rink or a playground. I think we need to be very honest with ourselves, that those two things are not happening, which is okay.
So can we just take that
I
off?
think we're just gonna take it off and we're gonna focus on the
Approve
building.
The alternates.
Huh?
Council didn't approve the
That's what
alternates
I'm saying,
anyway.
yeah, so.
We don't get to choose.
So the price for Mark goes down.
Yeah.
So that's
I
my
don't-
good news. He's a great
I think
guy,
the community is
really
gonna be
creative.
obsessed with investigating ice rinks, especially considering our survey, it's like number 2, but.
Investigate it yet. It
Yeah.
just is something that.
Not to decide.
Completely, right?
And then,
Second piece of good news.
yeah, council, they didn't approve this because they didn't have to, but we're getting a full-time parks maintenance position. Yay.
Needs a weeder person too, so I have one weed and.
Yeah.
Oh, while we're on that topic, we weeded at Marina Park today, Garden Club helped us, so that was awesome. So there's gonna be another little weeding session Friday at 11 o'clock, if anybody can come.
Then you can come see my classroom.
Yes, immediately after.
Have the buses. Because.
Yep.
Just Friday.
We got a good
Yeah.
start on it. It shouldn't be too bad.
And then due to short staff, lifeguard hours and skate park hours are non-existent for August.
I had questions on that. Because I think a lot of people associate dogs can be at City Beach when lifeguards are not there. Is that the case, or are we
No.
sticking to before 10 AM and after 6
But
PM?
also, no one's there to regulate it, so how do
Right.
you do
I
that?
was
It's like
like-
paddle boards, I was down there today and there were 5 paddle boards. Throughout the day, I saw them, like, how do you nitpick that? If I'm not standing down there the whole time. I don't, I'll tell them, we don't allow paddle boards, and most people are good about it. Some people tell me to kick rocks.
Is that on a sign or no?
Mention to chief that that's something they could just like as they're driving by, if they notice.
I mean, yeah, they're not going to, but I.
I mean, they enforce things.
I mean-
I feel like they enforce things all.
But again, it's one of those things, so a police officer goes by twice a day, catches someone, and then someone, like, when we did our swimming and s'mores event, 2 people had
police-
paddle boards in.
Well, and the.
Like,
and the
yeah,
police
like,
thing. Someone called us for having fire on the beach.
Yeah, and it can be on a rule sign, but if no one's there to regulate it, what good does that do? You can't have rules you can't regulate properly, so.
Well, if they're paddling into the beach, they're not gonna see the sign anyway.
Correct.
You have the flyers, but it's some more.
I'll have them tomorrow.
Okay.
Is the full-time maintenance, like the process for that, if they're post and hire?
Yeah, it's gonna be posted immediately and like over. So,
They help with trail marking and things like that at Kiwanis, like
all
Trevor
the things.
things.
The only thing they're not gonna help with is DPW. Due to union contracts, they can't overlap. So they won't be on a mower.
So is he gonna do your trash job then, or?
Yeah, so he'll do city trash, feeding, disc golf maintenance, skate park maintenance, public restroom maintenance, all those little things at DPW. It's not necessarily their job. I just call them for randomly.
You're like getting a promotion, don't have to pick up trash anymore, and
Yeah.
things like that.
And I
Very
get
good.
paid. And then park updates, Trevor installed extra layers of the rope at Ormond Beach fence. The fencing on the pickleball courts has been painted black.
No, so good, by the way.
We have $2,000 in disc golf sponsors right now, so John Cups is gonna go cement in the rest of the back 9. Preferably before Labor Day.
That's so nice of him to do that for 2,000.
New baby changing station was installed. The Rob and the men's beach restroom, exciting news. And the Coast Quad Park work by DPW.
So much going on.
Swimming and s'mores was great. I don't think we're changing anything. We're gonna hold another one August 27th, 6:30 to 8:30 and super call it a day.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Anything else anybody wants to bring up tonight? Okay, for September, we have boardwalk, pickleball, maybe discussions, and the fundraiser for the boardwalk. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, we are adjourned at 6:53.